Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Appreciate everybody being here today. It's almost night.
It feels
Looks
like night,
out,
yeah.
like it's outside. So I'm gonna call the meeting of the Arkansas Able Plan Review Committee to order. And we're on Zoom as well as in the office here at the Victory Building. This is the meeting, the November the 30th, 2023 meeting. So I call the meeting to order, and I want to welcome everyone here. Thank you for being here. I do have a new person who is attending today, Miss Kim Shockley, who represents Essentia. Essentia. Well, whatever.
Both things are good.
It's Arkansas. Okay. You want to I know you did this in the group before. Would you tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, my name is Kimberly Shockley, and before I came to Ascensus, I worked for the Rhode Island State Treasurer's Office. And the background I think that's the most pertinent here is that I was working there when we first implemented the ABLE program, and we were one of the initial states to begin the National ABLE Alliance.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it. So I think
Can we introduce Joe and Christy too?
Sure.
Because that
To me.
to her.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's okay.
Say, I know.
No, I mean, formally who Joe is and
Well,
Christy.
absolutely. So I'm Joe Baxter. I'm the Commissioner for Arkansas Rehab Services and primarily working with people with disabilities and putting them to work. So
Okay.
this has been a great partnership.
You're in the Department of Commerce, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Christy, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Christy Hayes. I work with the Department of Human Services. I am a senior project manager for the Arkansas Medicaid Enterprise System. And I was formerly with the Division of County Operations and Division of Medical Services with Medicaid policy and waivers.
Okay. Thank you, Christy. I appreciate that. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the September the 19th meeting. Does anyone have any changes or corrections they'd like to make to those minutes? Okay. If seeing none, I would entertain a motion for the approval.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Got a motion?
And I second it.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, Fran, tossing it to you.
Okay. Awesome.
What you told me.
I know that toss, the toss. So just to recap, at our last meeting, I think many of these were in the future, but since that time, just to recap, Chris and I had a very busy fall. In September, we participated in an open house at Easter Seals. We presented at an autism conference, the Tyler Danaway Foundation Autism Conference, and we'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. We also participated in the employee benefits fairs for the state employees, which is held at the state capitol. And then also the Department of Commerce, we went to one that was specific. It was the day of the movie filming.
Yeah, that's right.
When who was the actor? The guy who accidentally killed somebody. Yeah.
I'm glad we
And
were
the
able to
Capitol
meet you.
Hotel.
Yes,
Well,
you
they-
saw him that morning.
Mhm.
You saw him at breakfast and so that was an interesting day to be at the Department of Commerce. Sorry, squirrel.
Yep,
And then
yep.
ABEQ, we also presented or attended their fair there. Then in October, we drove up to Jonesboro and went to the St. Bernard's Hospital Employee Fair. We presented to the Office of the Court of the Court of Appeals, did a kind of a Zoom presentation for them, and then had a really good presentation to some representatives with AWIN, which is an acronym for Arkansas Work Incentives, which is an independent living resource nonprofit or provider. And then last month, or actually it's this month because it was November, we were asked to come, and Christy, you're probably familiar with this group, the Medicaid Family Council.
Yes.
That Jason Peterson invited us, and I don't even know how he found out about us.
I forget.
But it may have even been from you, Christy. But we went over to present, and the Medicaid Family Council is a rather large group of parents, advocates, and social workers, and they meet, I think, quarterly, and are quite involved and quite vocal. So we were able to give like a 45-minute presentation to all those folks, and Chris ended up getting some follow-up calls afterwards. I mean, there were two members of that group who are disabled, who both have ABLE plans. And when we were talking about what you could use about the U-Gift code, he got so excited because he had forgotten about the U-Gift code, and he was trying to save money to add a lift to his van for his wheelchair. He's like, wait, you mean I could send this out to my friends and my family and they could, are like, yeah. I mean, it just like, I almost started crying. I was so excited. So it was a very moving presentation. It was neat.
And Christy, if I recall correctly, it was you who made that introduction. The more I'm thinking about it. So
I don't know if it was to Jason, but I bet Melissa Weatherton was the one that routed it on to Jason, because I did
yes.
introduce you to Melissa and her team with the Division of Developmental Disability Services.
That's how it was.
It meant a lot to us, and we were very, very gracious and told Jason we'd love to be involved in the future. So
Good. That's a good group.
was
They
real
seem to be making some good changes and listening to the families.
Yeah, that was obvious. That was obvious. So real quickly, I mentioned the Tyler Danaway Foundation, and that's a mother and father of a young man who passed away, and he had autism, and he was quite kind of famous in the disability community. Like, he was featured on a lot of he was like the face of Easter Seals for a while, and so they have grown this foundation, and they have a conference every year where providers, parents, everybody can come, and they have like a day long of presentations pertaining to the disability community. And easily a year before the conference, she reached out to us about presenting. And so we went, and in the audience was, and Christy, both of you may know her name was Wednesday.
Yeah, she's on our SRC.
Okay,
Yep.
Wednesday
Big
Kramer. Wednesday was there, and as was Asia.
Say it.
Asaya
Okay.
Llewellyn.
Well, yeah, well, yeah.
Asia. Okay, but everybody knows who I'm
Right,
talking
you know.
about.
We all
So the two of them came up to us, and I think we met Asia before. We
Oh, yeah.
worked with
Yeah,
her before, but Wednesday is an advocate for the disability community, and she's disabled herself and very vocal.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah. But they approached us about our office helping them develop it. Wednesday was saying there is not a financial education curriculum or program for the disabled community that is not, it's not trying to sell a program. It's not something the bank offers. It's just financial planning and education for those. So they asked if we had any product, and we said we don't, but we have, the resources to research it, and we'd love to be a part, especially not only this office because of the Financial Education Commission, but because of the ABLE plan, that it's definitely something we'd love to be a part of developing. So we've already had our first meeting. It was just the same, the Asaya, Wednesday, and us, and we all kind of left the meeting with our little charges of doing research, and then we're going to get back together in December. In the meantime, and I think I mentioned this to you the other day, we've reached out to NASP, we've reached out to Economics Arkansas, but I think, I didn't know, Joe or Christy, if you all are familiar with any existing financial literacy or financial education products or
Yeah.
materials.
No, I know for us, that's a gap in the services that we're providing. Our counselors are required to counsel the clients, that are getting ready to go to work on financial stability and the things they can do. And that's why we have y'all coming in and training them a little bit more about the ABLE Act. But that's a definite need, and we would like to participate if there's some way that, having our folks there and getting that same training along with being able to convey that, hey, these are resources that are available. I guess you guys are just pulling all this together.
Yeah, but this is
Right.
not, we're not at the training.
Right, now, I'm just saying, but
Yeah.
I
this is-
agree, there's
But
a gap there.
we could pick their brains though and see like, what kind of topics are you guys identifying the most needs for? Right? Is
Exactly.
it, budget planning, or is it more just curiosity about different financial products?
And I would tell you that off the bat, it's right in this wheelhouse because it's things that affect their benefits that they're concerned about.
Right.
And that keep them.
Exactly.
To earn more or do whatever. So it's trying to balance that, making them, giving them an opportunity to be more productive and contribute to society, but at the same time, allaying those fears about, if I earn another dollar, then I'm losing this over here. So we need to continue to work that.
Christie, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I agree with Joe, on the, on the benefit part. Individuals are really concerned about losing their benefits and aware of the resources that they have because they know a lot of their benefits are reliant, eligibility reliant on income and resources. And so I think it's a good thing. It sounds like, probably on the DHS side, we need to look at that too. But the Families Medicaid Council, I think that's a good start. I also had a thought while you were talking. I'm also on the Arkansas Brain Injury Council for TBI survivors. And as talking about this, I think that would be a good group for, we have a quarterly meeting also. And I think that would be a good group to reach out to also because it has social workers, it has some state employees like myself, and some individuals from UAMS. So I think, and they actually have some TBI survivors that are on the council. So I will send you the information. And if you want me to do an introduction again, like I did the last time, I would be happy to do so because I think that would be a good group to reach out to also.
That'd be wonderful. We'll follow up with you on that, Christie. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have room to bring this up on the priority list so we can put some effort behind it?
Mhm.
It sounds like there's a.
Yeah, no,
immediate need
there's
there.
definitely, yeah. So that's.
Short education, but the brain council, a brain or head injury, it's not by birth, but they can be considered developmental disability. If they're in a serious car wreck or accident, then they can be in the category, if medical report, whatever, they are considered developmentally disabled to fit under the scheme.
Yeah.
Some people get that confused, but
And then
it's
the
diagnosed
able,
serious stuff.
then the able plan would be
They
available
would,
to them. Okay,
absolutely.
very good.
So I was so glad, that's a perfect example of why if we're asked to speak somewhere, I don't want to say no if we don't need to, because we never would have probably had that outreach, so. Okay, that's all I have.
Is that it?
That's it.
What's next on the agenda?
I think I'm up. All right, so thanks again, everyone, for having me. We'll just get right into the presentation and ask any questions you may have. I had mentioned it earlier, but as we go through these, if there's information that you might be looking for at meetings, please make sure to let me know. I think we've kind of gone with a lot of the same material over time, but doesn't mean we can't change things up if you'd like. So as of September, end of the third quarter, there's a little over $5 million. I think you've seen constant growth in your ABLE program since what we have here at the beginning of 2021. When you look at the investment options, Arkansas seems to invest a bit more heavily in the conservative option, but I don't know that that really matters. I think all you're saying there is they are investing to hold on to savings as opposed to it being a purely transactional account. You guys fall in pretty close to the rest of the alliance as far as the transactional.
Yeah, and as background information, a vast majority of our, well, I wouldn't say majority, but a good chunk of our accounts in the conservative option are actually DHS.
For the kids.
Yeah, accounts, so that's, how they enroll all of their kids' accounts.
It's been a minute since we've talked about the process by how people choose or select what investment options they go into. Y'all remind me, is that a required part of the process that they get briefing and counseling on that, or is that self-driven?
Briefing and counseling, no. We do have some resources on our ABLE website and in the program description as well. That kind of goes over what kind of an investor are you?
Right.
What are you saving for? Here's some things to consider. Legally, again, can't give advice on there, but we
Right.
can say, you might consider this if you're saving for that.
So tying back into this financial education need, and then the fact that they're gonna be relying on someone, either the gardening or whatever, someone that makes decisions for them. Just was wondering what was available out there and what was required.
Well, I think it's also why we kept it this language.
Yeah,
Because even if you're not an investment expert, you understand conservative versus
exactly. You can
aggressive.
pick one of these and say, oh,
Yeah.
that's more me than this,
Mhm.
whatever. I got you.
Contributions by month, I don't really see a pattern in. If anyone else sees a pattern here, let me know. I feel like
Looking at it now.
I realize this, sometimes it's just timing, something that happened at the end of a month, one month happened at the beginning of the next month. But I think that this is staying consistent with what we're seeing this year. And when you look at it over the past 3 years, in September, you're seeing growth, which is a positive, and it was about 191,000. And we are seeing, when you look at the linear projections, a gradual increase. Contributions by type, you know, what you're seeing the most is the EBT contribution. Those are the social security cards that people have. I think 13% for recurring contribution is great. And then the additional 3%, which is from payroll, is very nice. I don't think we see a huge U-gift, but I think people are also careful with that, Fran, because they want to make sure that giving out that code doesn't make them go over the maximum per year. So if someone's earning money, I think you're a little more careful with who you give that U-gift to. You want to make sure they can make their contributions.
The regular contribution.
What's CBT?
Like I said, it's that a lot of people get their social security on a card,
What's it?
if they're unbanked
acronym for
especially.
Electronic
Electronic banking transaction, I think.
Okay.
But if you're unbanked, which probably many were before this program, you can take your money out at an ATM machine there.
So, these are done, they're not periodic, I mean.
They're not necessarily
not
happening regularly.
every month.
No.
They're
Not necessarily,
random, okay, but there's 47%.
47%. yeah.
Almost half, okay.
When you look at the distributions, we seem to have less distributions this month, but once again, the pattern isn't showing itself. As far as distributions, most people I think are taking through the banking, through the Fifth Third banking option, probably taking money out at an ATM. And then they do have some systematic withdrawals here, and probably payments that they're making, regular payments. It's an assumption based on that approved third party.
You run the distribution by type page.
Distribution by type, yep. Night casino rollovers out, so those who are in the account aren't moving to other state accounts. Distributions by age group, you see the majority in the 30 to 40. There, I didn't look, and the average beneficiary age at enrollment is almost 35. So I don't know if there's a specific reason for that. It's based on the fact that it's a newer account, you know, it's only.
We just, 2018.
Yeah, so, I do find that interesting. I wonder if that will increase in how much by when the age of enrollment the age of onset, increases. I also think when you talk about organizations like, the brain injury, because of the fact that that can happen anytime in a person's life.
I have a
That's a
question.
group I hadn't thought about.
Would it be possible in a follow-up report to have these age groups broken down by account type, if they're self-managed accounts versus authorized individual accounts?
That would be, that is.
I mean, obviously, don't need to do that for.
By ownership type or?
Yeah, we
really?
don't need to do that for the 19 and under, because those are, of course, gonna be authorized individual more than likely.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. A couple of pages up, I noticed that we actually, group parent and guardian. And I don't know that that's a great grouping, because a parent is for someone under the age of 18. I'd like to see the difference there, and how many
Yeah.
parents are managing their account for a child, as opposed to how many people actually have that guardianship role over an adult. I think it would be interesting to see.
Thank you. I didn't mean to.
No, that's a good.
No. Appreciate the addition. New accounts by month. Actually, this year's looking pretty good, when comparing it to, last year's numbers. There were 26 new accounts in September. Year to date, show about 177 new accounts. When you look at the fact that it's a plan with 1,056 accounts, that's a large number, you know? When you look at accounts by disability type, I find it interesting, where you see the largest average account size. I also want to point out, because it's something we do on this sheet that wasn't done on the other sheets, and I didn't change up how these work, for my first meeting, but there are unfunded accounts in our system that people have opened under the Arkansas Able Plan. They're not counted when you look at this average, dollar amount on the
So
account
these
side.
are just
So
funded.
it's something to keep in mind that we're
Average
only
funded
counting
accounts.
funded accounts here. If you go to the next page, they're dividing by all accounts. So I
That's the way
don't
always-
like the inconsistency
Yeah.
personally, but I wasn't sure if that was the reason we were doing that, so I didn't wanna.
Yeah, whenever I report internally, I always go by the average funded account size.
I think it's a more
That
honest-
makes sense.
I think it's a more honest number,
Mhm.
because if you haven't funded your account at all, you simply opened it and have let it sit.
Right.
I don't think that's a real basis for how people are using the accounts.
Mhm.
But
So
on
let
this,
me ask you
Sure.
this, whenever you have an account, and you deplete the money in the account, is it closed?
yes, it
So
will.
these are not those accounts. These are basically accounts that were opened but never funded at all.
Yeah. And the reason that they closed them out after a certain amount of time is because you're not allowed to have more than one.
Yeah.
So if you had taken all your money out and you opened up one in a neighboring, you just moved to another state, you wanted to move your funds, you're not allowed to have two open able accounts. So they would make sure that the
Okay.
account at some time interval closed out
For the same person.
Yeah.
I can have
for the
more
same
than-
owner. So
I can have one for multiple grandchildren.
if you had more than one grandchild with a disability, they would be considered the owner. So you'd be
Right.
considered the person who's transacting on the account, but each grandchild could only be on one.
The owner is the
Mhm.
recipient.
Yeah.
The beneficiary.
and beneficiary.
But, you know, I look at some of these like Down syndrome, and a lot of people with Down syndrome work. So I wonder if that's why their accounts are a bit more heavily funded than some others. I do also wonder why respiratory disorder would stand out so much. As far as the account size, but it could just be because there aren't a lot and we're dividing by such a small number.
Mr. Chair, answer your question. You asked about the Down syndrome.
Mhm.
There's a financial advisor who's very involved with some of the boards commissions whose daughter has Down syndrome. He's very involved with all the Downs groups.
Okay,
So he was the first one to enroll and sell the program. So he's had some just personal effort
gotcha.
with all the Down syndrome people, with the family.
It's how our conversations have been going throughout the day. Often if you're involved with this community, it's personal.
But it's a contact person that people trust.
Yeah.
So that's why they vote, because they knew him.
Remind me of his name, it's on the tip
Mark
of my tongue.
George.
Mark George,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
His family's still in Sean 11.
No, it was him and Mayberry opened up the first two able accounts in Arkansas.
Mhm.
Um, This was the page I was just talking about, Chris, down here where we do the custodian description.
What page you on?
I'm sorry, they're not numbered, but it's labeled accounts by eligibility and custodian type.
Got it.
Looking at the bottom graph, parent and guardian are combined, and if you want, I can pull that out too at the next meeting, just to see the amounts in the plans for people with parents controlling them, as opposed to whether or not they're a parent, someone who's considered a guardian at that point.
And I know the whole authorized individual thing is still kind of fairly new, but is it possible for census to break that?
I can check.
down now? I think it is. I think it's on one of the.
You wanted it broken down by age?
By the hierarchy.
Oh, how they're an
Yeah.
authorized individual? Gotcha. I do also think because our average age of account owner is so high, that probably a lot of these, with parent guardian are guardian.
Yeah.
This is closures, so 12 accounts, closed during the month. 15, like you were asking earlier, treasurer, because they were inactive. So, there were no funds in them and they weren't being utilized.
Wait,
So,
12 closed, what,
In September.
September.
this is quarterly down at the bottom.
right,
Oh, that is. Oh,
So
I was looking-
12 closed in September, but 22 closed in the quarter.
quarter, okay.
Yeah, trust me, I did the same thing when I first. See, that's another thing that kind of throws me about some of these.
Yeah.
We jump
Yeah.
from quarterly to monthly to annually. On the 529 report under UGIFT, we do it for the lifetime of the
Yeah.
account. So I feel as if there's some
Maybe
instances
there's
where
some- yeah.
we should break it out a little.
You said, what was the number you used? 29 or 20?
22 closed.
Yeah.
In the quarter.
15, 5 and 2, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Inactive, full distributor. Customer request invalid, okay.
I have something on the
Sure.
account closures. I think that, going forward, hopefully within the next year or two, we're gonna see these numbers decrease a little bit, as some procedures are kind of fine tuned
Yep.
around the opening and closing of
Mhm.
accounts that's currently going on, so that'll be something to keep an eye on.
Okay.
And then as far as how you heard about the plan, I think it's great that so many come from an organization or a family or friend. Those are our top two. And then advisors are seemingly starting to involve themselves. When 5 years ago, one advisor recommended the plan, at least now we're.
And
we're
we
in the
know
double
who that
digits.
advisor is.
We just named,
Yeah.
Very influential.
yeah.
Remind me how many advisors sold able plans there are now? Is it just one or two?
I don't know. I mean, are there that are purely advisor?
I think there was one. I forgot what state was breaking up to.
Is this a financial advisor? I mean,
Yeah.
One who's in the
You mean like a
financial business?
state
An
that has,
advisor sold plan, sorry,
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
advisor sold.
No.
able
Yeah.
plan.
I mean, I kind of think of these as free gift with purchase. You're
Yeah.
my client and this exists and I can open it. Another group that I know in Rhode Island worked with, that people worked with a lot are attorneys
Yeah,
who open trusts.
right, special needs,
Special needs trusts.
yeah,
and somebody may mark.
And then they-
an advisor, yeah.
But I think the fact that those attorneys are so involved, and this was kind of the spending arm of a trust in certain instances, like
Yeah.
we'll fund the able account. Like, so, for those who have a little more financial means.
Good report. But yeah, I like some of the changes we talked about, and we can, as we get closer
We
to the
can talk
next
about
meeting,
more.
we can have through it.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't wanna reinvent any
Sure.
wheels for this one, because there might have been reasons that certain things were certain ways that I just didn't know about.
Okay.
All right,
Very good. So I think we're down to new business then. The only new business that I would bring before this group will be the next meeting on March the 7th or 24th, same time. Well, we'd be the same
Well,
time.
probably do a little earlier if
Yeah.
Yeah,
possible.
if you can.
You're right.
Yeah.
That was my fault. I had an appointment.
Oh, no problem.
Well, Christie, would
March.
that be okay with your
Seventh?
schedule, March
The
7th
Thursday?
at 2?
Let me look right quick.
That too.
We were
I wanna
thinking
say-
2:00.
You had just learned about a new recurring meeting. No, that was Julie Mullins. That was-
Right, that was the one that we had to change.
That will be fine.
Okay,
And
good.
we'll follow up, that if you see something that you know for a fact isn't going to work.
I have a national conference call at 1, but it's.
Well, and it'd be at 2, and you could
Two.
join, via Zoom if that's easier for you,
I'll
so.
take that.
Okay.
No.
You want to hear? Well, now I see another
I see a
thing
lot
that's
of
on there.
bubbles on there.
Right, I'll make it work.
Okay, I'm sitting here looking at your schedule, like.
Take some of this stuff out if you want. I can.
That's
why-
I'll just forward it to you.
And hopefully Chrissy will be here too,
Yeah.
Yes,
in person.
yes.
Is there any
I will
other
try to
business?
be there in person next time.
I know
Hopefully, I will
that.
not have a sick child.
Well, yeah.
I
You
think
never
with the weather,
know.
you
I
made the right choice.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. Is there any other business come before this committee? If not, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all. Nice
Thank
meeting
you.
Thank you, Christy.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll send you an email with the information.
Yeah.